And I think his basement right now is 260. He only needs to pick off one in that upper Midwest region. If you just look at the early vote by mail, this is a Trump landslide in the making. Democrats have to outperform by mail 2.5 to 1 or 2 to 1 because they're not going to be able to overwhelm Election Day turnout by Republicans. Now it's 50-50, or Republicans are actually winning early vote by mail in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Ohio, and are also right behind there in Arizona, and Democrats are doing very poorly in early vote by mail in Florida. So if you also look at just registrations, J.P. Morgan predicts the Republican president, Donald Trump, is going to win Florida, North Carolina, and Arizona just on registration alone. And so also party affiliation. In 2016, it was D +3. Gallup has it now Republican +1. So why are these national polling people oversampling Democrats by 9? There's no way Joe Biden's winning in a double-digit landslide. That's like Reagan-Mondale situation where you win 40 out of the 50 states. No one believes that's happening. And if you go to the state polls, Trafalgar has the president tied or ahead in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Arizona, and he was the most accurate state pollster the last 2 cycles.
The Joe Biden campaign is sinking as his poll lead plunges and the youth vote implodes. In this video, we're going to take a look at the latest Democrat panic, how Biden's poll lead has evaporated, how the ultra-leftist youth vote is nowhere to be found among early voters, and how more and more pundits are indeed seeing a red wave rising, which was thought unimaginable just a few weeks ago. You are not going to want to miss this. Welcome, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you, ready to bring you our latest episode celebrating the inevitable collapse of left-wing globalism and the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We'd love to have you as a regular part of this channel that focuses on optimism and encouragement in the midst of all the defeatist fake news nonsense spewed out by the mainstream media. But first, if you, like millions of others, are going keto, right? You know how hard the diet is to follow, cutting out all the carbs, the bread, the wonderful bread. But now you can get all the benefits of elevated ketone levels, but without having to actually do the difficult parts of the keto diet, thanks to our sponsor, Keto Elevate. I use it myself. I put in my coffee every morning. Tastes great, curbs my appetite for hours. Now, if you click on that link below, you can get your very first shipment of Keto Elevate on its way to you right now with a whopping 51% off the regular price. So don't wait. Click on that link below and reap the rewards that Keto Elevate can bring to your life today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. Now, I don't know how many of you were familiar with what Jesse Waters of Fox News was saying the other day, but I think his assessment is dead on. The early vote strategy for Joe Biden is imploding. Okay, it's not working out the way the Biden campaign was relying on. Biden's electoral strategy was rather simple: direct as many Democrat voters as possible to vote early with mail-in ballots, producing record numbers that would effectively negate the GOP's historic high turnout with in-person voting on the 3rd, and then make up any vote deficits with late ballots trickling in during the days subsequent to November 3rd, giving Biden an inevitable win. However, the key with this is that the strategy works only if there are small vote deficits after the election day, which requires a massive Democrat lead going into November 3rd with the early mail-in ballots. The nightmare scenario would be Democrats underperforming 2016 vote tallies while the GOP overperforms. And with the returns coming in, that scenario appears more and more likely, which is leading analysts like Jesse Waters to say, this is looking more and more like a Trump blowout. Now, let's start with some of the polling today. Biden's lead has absolutely collapsed. It's collapsed really in just 7 days. The latest Investors Business Daily poll has Biden leading Trump by only 2 points, 48 to 46, which is within the margin of error of plus or minus 3.2. So we're talking it's a statistical tie at this point. Now, keep in mind, this is a national poll. It includes all the urban centers such as New York City and LA and Chicago and San Francisco. So as we found in 2016, if Trump is trailing by just a few percentage points nationally, he's absolutely dominating the Electoral College. Now, This statistical tie is a dramatic plunge for Biden, who just a week ago had a nearly 9-point lead. On October 13th, the IBD reported Biden with a lead of 8.6 points, which is now plunged. It's been almost completely erased. The two are statistically tied, and this seems largely because Biden is losing support among Democrats. His support among blacks is smaller than Hillary Clinton's in 2016. She had 85% black support, while Biden has only 79%. Same with Hispanics. Trump is doing better with Latinos than he did in 2016, particularly in Florida. Moreover, President Trump is picking up thousands of new voters who didn't vote in the 2016 election. According to the Gateway Pundit, tens of thousands of voters in Arizona have signed up to vote for Trump at his Prescott and Tucson, Arizona rallies. Some with his rally in Carson City, some more in Carson City, Nevada. Nevada wasn't supposed to be in play for Trump. Nevada was supposed to be, at the very least, a lean blue state. It's now a toss-up. Trump can absolutely pull off Nevada. And what they're finding is that among the tens of thousands of voter registrations that they're accumulating at these rallies, a solid 30% or so did not vote in 2016. About 25% aren't even Republicans. And this is at least partially why the Biden campaign is freaking out. Look at this headline from the British Daily Mail. Joe Biden's campaign manager warns Donald Trump could still win the election and cautions against complacency because numbers favoring the Democrat are inflated. Yes, we knew that. We reported on how even Rasmussen was artificially inflating the poll numbers in Biden's favor. Inflated is, well, that's a nice term. I'd prefer deceptive. There's no way around that. The polls that have been pushed thus far are utterly deceptive, and they intended to see, most likely to discourage big money donors from giving to the Trump campaign so Biden can maintain his cash advantage. No, it's pretty clear that Biden's team is beginning to freak out, and they're freaking out because these fraudulent inflated polls are getting laughed at by the voting totals coming in from early voting. Now, like I said in our previous videos over the last couple of days, voting has begun. The election is underway, and so we're analyzing the actual votes that are coming in. And like I said earlier, the votes are simply not what the Biden campaign was hoping for. Politico is reporting that Democrat operatives are indeed beginning to panic as they're seeing Republicans take the lead in places like Michigan and overwhelmingly in Texas, as well as witnessing an absolute implosion in the youth vote. Check this out. Quote, Democrats are poring over early vote totals, circulating anxiety-ridden campaign memos, and bracing for a long 2 weeks, close quote. Look at these numbers coming out of Nevada. These are votes cast by age group. Look at this. The 18 to 24-year-old demographic, the so-called youth vote, is barely 4%. But if you look at voter registration, 18 to 24-year-olds represent over 10% of the vote. Analyst Larry Schweikert has noticed that in Philadelphia, home to Temple University, Drexel, UPenn, LaSalle University, the 18 to 29-year-old youth vote has gone from 23.1% in 2016 to 12.5% in the midterms, crashing to an 11.7% in 2020 now. That's a collapse, all right? That's an implosion. Biden's coalition is actually collapsing before our very eyes. And it's not just Pennsylvania. In Dane County, Wisconsin, home to University of Wisconsin-Madison and one of America's most liberal college towns, the youth vote has declined from 8% in 2016 to 7.3% now. And so Schweikert is a fascinating prediction here. He's noting that because college campuses are empty this year, we just talked about this actually, the Democrats are going to have to make up for that absence of mobilization. We have to remember that college campus is a center for recruiting for Democrats. And if there's nobody on campus to recruit, then Election Day, November 3rd, is going to be an absolute bust in terms of the 18 to 24-year-old college-age vote. That means, according to Schweikert, that if the Democrats are going to make up for that deficit, they need to have a 30% higher mail-in ballot return among college voters to make up for the shortfall on Election Day. the Democrats are so far behind that number right now that we may in fact be seeing the college age vote, right, the so-called young people's vote, collapse by a full 2/3. One of the Democrats' major voting constituencies might end up falling short of their 2016 vote tally by 2/3 this year. It's a total disaster, an absolutely stunning fail on the part of the Democrats. And again, keep in mind, Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, those are two key swing states that Biden absolutely needs to win this election. So given all the early voting data that we have now, where are we with the electoral map? Well, before we get into that, I want to personally invite you to our special On the Brink Benefit Conference. It's online conference on Saturday, October 31st, featuring me and Red Eagle Politics, which is an awesome poll analysis channel that you'll definitely want to check out, Red Eagle Politics. The virtual conference is going to help you think better and therefore feel better about November 3rd and beyond. So we're going to discover what to expect on November 3rd. What we'll look at what's really behind the rise of a new conservative age, how nationalism and globalism will continue to face off beyond November, and why nationalist populism is absolutely unstoppable in its battle with liberal left-wing globalism. Now, prices are going up, so don't wait. Make sure to register today for the On the Brink Benefit Conference, and I look forward to meeting you all virtually on the 31st. All right, so here's the electoral map right now as real American politics sees it. With all the mail-in votes and in-person early votes being counted thus far, real American politics has Texas safely Republican. He has Ohio and Iowa as borderline safe for the GOP. Georgia is likely GOP. Florida, North Carolina, and Arizona are all leaning Republican. Wisconsin is borderline leaning Republican. Michigan and Pennsylvania are tilting Republican, and Minnesota is a toss-up, but tilting Republican. Look, this is why you have Democrat mayors in Pennsylvania counties like this fellow, Justin Taylor. Justin Taylor is a Democrat mayor of Carbondale, Pennsylvania. He's an old-school populist Democrat who doesn't recognize his party anymore, which means he needs to come on over the Republicans. But he's been talking to his Democrat constituents throughout the counties in Pennsylvania, and he's predicting that Trump is going to win in an absolute landslide. And he's seeing huge numbers coming out for Trump across Pennsylvania and across the nation as more and more Democrats feel totally abandoned by their party. For most of the nation, most of our counties are made up of populations who live by the values of God, family, country, and work, right? Faith, family, and freedom. That is no longer welcome in the party of identity politics, in the party of BLM and Antifa, the party of Marx, the party of secularism and religious bigotry. And so this, again, is something we have to bear in mind. Even although we may be seeing, say, 50% Democrat mail-in ballots, that doesn't mean that they're all voting for Biden. Again, remember, this was the mistake that pundits made in 2016. They assumed that Hillary was getting all those early Democrat votes, but not in states like Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Minnesota. Now, there are county after county in those states that have voted Democrat in every single presidential election over the last 30 years suddenly defected and voted for Trump. So time will tell to see if we have a landslide in the making. But there's no question. The Biden campaign is sinking as we speak. His poll lead has plunged. The youth vote has imploded. And the electoral map is turning more and more red with each passing day. Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. And you will definitely want to check out my latest video. I just uploaded it on how the ultra-left CNN legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin got utterly humiliated after he's caught exposing himself on a Zoom call. And I get into what's really all behind that kind of stuff. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.